I had 3 5-star reads in July, and I just DNF'd everything I was in the middle of. I have not read a book in a long time that has made me feel the way that that book made me feel. It is my favorite time of the month. It is my July reading wrap up. I love to just yap about the books that I read the month before. That is my favorite thing to do, so here we are. I had 3 5-star reads in July, and nothing under a 4. Before that, I was in a month-long reading slump. Like, if you've been here, a month long. I didn't finish a book all of June, basically. After I finished releasing 10 by Chloe Walsh, that was it for me. I finally made the choice, and I just DNF'd everything I was in the middle of. Any book that I started that I was in the middle of that I didn't want to pick up, gone, done. Even if I was enjoying it, it's gone. And that was the right choice, because then I picked up a book, read it, liked it, and we were on a groove from there. Every book I read this month was great. I loved every single one of them. So let's get into it. And all of these are like summer vibes too, which is really nice because it's about to be August, which is technically really like the last month of summer. So if you're looking for some summer reads, these are going to be for you because every single one of them is summer and you've got one more month. And I had 3 5-stars. So what are you waiting for? This is really in no particular order, but I am going to start off with the book that got me out of my reading slump because I feel like that just makes sense. Wild Side by Elsie Silver. This is the 3rd book in the, why am I literally blanking? Rose Hill. This is the 3rd book in the Rose Hill series. I've given the first 2 books in this series 5 stars. I loved them both. This book ended up being a 4-star for me. This book follows Tabitha and Reese, who we do see in the other books in the Rose Hill series. In typical Elsie Silver fashion, we have a very fun meet cute, but they actually meet like a year before this story actually begins. And when they do meet again, it is under really unfortunate circumstances. Tabitha now has to fight for custody over her nephew, and who's she fighting for custody? Reese. Now, Reese has something that takes him away for weeks on end, and therefore it is very hard for him to balance having, I forget, what was his name? So it's very hard for him to balance Milo, but he made a promise and he doesn't want to break that. Now, because Reese lives in the States and Tabitha lives in Canada, let's just say we've got a forced proximity situation. We've also got an arranged marriage. I guess not an arranged marriage, but like a marriage of convenience. That's the one I'm looking for, a marriage of convenience. And I will say that I loved Reese and Tabitha. I loved both their characters and I love Milo. The only thing with this one is I felt like I couldn't connect to like the single dad vibe because that's kind of like the whole thing with the series is every book has like a single dad. I didn't really get that feeling with Reese, mostly because we didn't really get a lot of moments with Milo and Reese. Like we didn't really get to see their relationship bloom as much as I would have hoped. And I wish we would have even gotten maybe some flashbacks to have seen their relationship develop over time. But I love the Rose Hill series. As somebody who lives in Canada, I've also been to Alberta, which is where these take place. I love the vibes. Like it is like the small town vibes without it being a cowboy romance, because sometimes you don't want a cowboy romance. Sometimes you just want small town. And I love it. I definitely think it's worth the read. It's just not my favorite one in the series. Okay, so let's get into my first 5-star, which was Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. This book got so much hate, I feel like, when it came out. Like, I remember not picking this up because so many people read it and did not love it. And I didn't really understand as I was reading this because I connected to it immediately. I also think it depends on like who you are, what your situation is. This does have like somebody in it with dementia. And I actually really connected with that because I lost my grandmother and she had dementia. So I do feel like there are pains in this book that our main character goes through that like only somebody who's ever had someone they love forget their name probably will fully understand. But it was very nice to read it because it just made me realize like other people have gone through that. The meet cute in this book is really, really interesting because you actually start off absolutely hating our main male character, like despising. This book follows Samantha and Xavier, and they meet because she brings a kitten that she finds to his vet office. He is a vet. He basically says she needs to put the cat down, and she's like, absolutely not. And it is a whole thing. And you kind of right off the bat just kind of hate him because he's very blunt. He's very like to the point. Doesn't seem like he has a lot of empathy, which you're not going to vibe with right away. I'm sorry. But let's just say she proves him wrong on many things and their relationship does blossom very quickly. I think a lot of people didn't like this because it gives insta love quite a bit, but I also don't mind that personally. I feel like my boyfriend and I were insta love. Like I think there are sometimes exceptions to the rule, okay? And I think there's nothing wrong with insta love. And I feel like in this book it was done very well, especially because I do feel like this is a book where there is a situation that is keeping the characters from being together, and it is a real thing that makes sense. Like sometimes book characters like refuse to be together and won't like admit their feelings to each other over stupid things. Like you're like, this is so dumb and could be solved with a simple conversation. But for them, like they've admitted they like each other. They want to be together, but life is keeping them from being together. And I loved that. I felt like it gave it a realistic vibe, and it also just had you rooting for them, and it made you frustrated for their situation, not for that, like them making stupid decisions. Like you just feel bad for them. I feel like there was nothing wrong with that. I think that if you have been holding off on reading this because of the reviews, I think you should try it, because I really, really liked it, and it became my favorite Abby Jimenez book. Chasing Shelter by Catherine Cowles. This is the 5th book in the Sparrow Falls series, and let me just tell you that if you haven't read the Sparrow Falls series yet, you are severely missing out, because one thing I love about this series is that they're all romantic suspense, so they keep you very, very intrigued and interested the entire time. Like you don't want to put it down, you just want to know what happens. There's always like someone in the darkness that is like causing issues. Sparrow Falls once again gives that like small town vibe, kind of like Stars Hollow, just comparatively. It just makes me feel so cozy. Like I feel like this could be an any season read. I personally think that it gives like summer, fall vibes, but I feel like you could literally read this anytime. This book follows Trace and Ellie. Now, Ellie is actually Link's sister, which Link was the main character, I think, in the previous book. So we already kind of like know who Trace is, and Ellie also knows who Trace is. She moves to Sparrow Falls to escape her old life and ends up being neighbors with Trace, which he is the town sheriff. And Trace is also a single dad to an adorable girl named Keely. I loved the single dad vibes in this. Keely was so adorable. I loved Ellie and Keely's relationship. I thought it was so, so cute. I also loved that we actually do get to kind of meet Trace's ex-wife, and I love that it wasn't just like a demonized situation where they made her seem like a horrible person. Like, because sometimes things just don't work out between people. It doesn't mean that things like had to have ended horribly. So I loved that it was just like a very calm situation for that part, because the rest of the book is not calm. There's a lot going on. I gave this book 4.5 stars. It's my favorite one of the series so far. Loved the plot twist. I love Catherine Cowles' plot twists because they're never overdone. They're just perfect. So if you haven't read this yet, it is available on Kindle Unlimited, like all of the books in the series. I think all of her books in general are on there. So highly recommend. Very easy reads. Now we have to talk about Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I've read quite a few TJR books, and most of them I've read on audio. So they always hit a little different because she always has like dual narration or like graphic audios. Like there's always a lot going on in her audiobooks that make them way more entertaining. My dog is literally standing on my treadmill right now. Can we just look at him? There's me. Look at him. So I did decide to tandem read this, so I listened to the audio while reading it physically, and I definitely recommend doing that. I thought it was a really good way to consume this book. The narrators, as always, were perfect. This book follows a girl named Joan, and she's always been really into the stars. She's into astronomy. She becomes an astronomy professor, and now it is the early 80s, and NASA has finally allowed women to apply for their astronaut programs, so obviously she needs to get on this. Once she's in the program, she meets so many other people that, although they're all just so vastly different in personalities, they mesh together so well, and the found family in this is absolutely stunning. But we also meet Vanessa Ford, who does become kind of like a love interest situation, but it is the 80s. So back then, queer love and all of that was just a lot more taboo, and especially in a government position like NASA, probably not widely accepted. So this creates a lot of like forbidden love, but also just it creates this heart-wrenching story where you know that these characters are meant to be together, you know that they are soulmates, but everything in their life, including their passions and their deepest wishes for themselves and their futures, is keeping them from each other. This book was heart-wrenching. It was beautiful. I loved the writing. I loved the story. I loved the characters. And I love that you actually kind of start off with the tragedy and you work your way back up to it. So you kind of know what to expect, but you want to see how we get there and how we overcome it. And it was just so perfect in pretty much every single way. This book is like a 6-star read for me. I loved it so much. It is my favorite by this author, 1000%. I have not read a book in a long time that has made me feel the way that that book made me feel. And now we have My Friends by Frederick Bachman. This book was also a 5-star read for me. It was kind of just on the cusp of being a 5-star. It was almost less, but I am a bit biased when it comes to Frederick Bachman. Only reason is that this book is a little bit slower than some of his others, but I honestly think that's just his writing. Like, I think his writing in general is a bit slower paced, very, very detailed, a little repetitive at times, but it's almost to create emphasis. Like, it's not repetitive in a way that doesn't feel reasonable. I also feel like I can't really explain to you what this book is about, because the one thing with his books is he keeps his synopsis very, very vague, with good reason, because it's always just touching on the smallest topic of what's actually happening. It almost more so sets the tone and sets the setting of the book, but then everything after that is just a spiral. Like, it just keeps on going and it keeps getting bigger and bigger and more intense and more crazy, and you can never expect what's going to happen in his books. And I love that. I think sometimes synopsis give things away too much in some books. Like, this is not that. This definitely leaves you wondering what's going to happen. I loved the characters. I loved the quotes in this book. Like, I've always been a fan of Frederick Bachman, but this book specifically had some very hard-hitting quotes in it, especially for me personally. And I find that Frederick just has a way of like writing the most mundane things beautiful. He has a way of taking the emotions that you feel that you can't describe and putting them into words perfectly. And lastly, we're going to talk about Beach Read, because here's the thing. As I'm filming this, I'm not done it. But we have a couple more days of July left, and I know I will finish it, but I do think it will be the last book that I finish this month. I think I have like 150 pages left, so I'll probably be finishing this today. But I wanted to get this filmed and get it edited. That way it could be up on time, so I'm filming this early. But I will obviously put what my rating is up here. Now, I find a lot of people say that this is their favorite book by Emily Henry, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite, to be honest. I love it. I'm having a good time. I feel like it's gonna be a 4.5. It just isn't as, in general, as entertaining to me as some of the other books have been. And I don't know if it's the setting or if it's just the characters. Like, I'm just not as invested as I have been in other books. And there's just not as many like hard-hitting quotes for me. Like, that's the one thing I read Emily Henry for the most, I think, is that her quotes always just hit different and they like reach into my soul and rip my heart out, and then they smush it all together and they put it back in, and it's like never the same. That's usually why I read Emily Henry's books. This just doesn't have as many moments like that for me. And I do think there's still like a lot to unravel. Like, there's got to be more story to this. Like, I just don't think that what we're currently seeing and reading is like how things actually are, but that's just what we know. If you know, you know, I guess. I just feel like there's so much more to be said. I don't feel as much sympathy for our main female characters I think that I should feel, and I feel like maybe that's because we just don't really see her past at all. Like, I think I would have loved to have had more moments of her younger in order to feel like a little more sympathy, because I just like, I don't know. It's not that I don't care. It's just that I'm not as invested in these characters and their lives as I have been with other Emily Henry books. But it's still a really good read, and I think it's perfect for the summer. Although I'm not really getting summer vibes. Like, it's called Beach Read, but I have yet to like see them on a beach. Literally have not seen them on a beach yet. There's not been a single beach mention in here, I don't think. So I'm a little confused by that. But I'm still really, really enjoying it. I'm still having a good time. Well, that's the 6 books that I read this month, and I feel like this was one of the best reading months that I've had this year. Like, I think coming out of my slump, I almost needed a break. And now that I've had a break, everything's just hitting. And I'm also just reaching for books I want, which is why this month I'm not going to have a TBR video coming out, because realistically, I honestly don't think that that's a good idea for me. I think that if I make a TBR, that's when things go downhill. This will have to do for now. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and if you want more from me, I post every Sunday and then some additional videos here and there. Let me know what your favorite book of July was down in the comments, because I'm very curious to know, and maybe it'll influence what I pick up in August.